You're listening to the two-time award-winning Curvaceous Bounty of Sin City on VegasAllNetRadio.com. We are here with Howard Cohen. Very happy to have Howard here. As you've already noticed, Howard has very good thoughts and on very good things because he thinks like me. Or either I think like a man or he thinks like a woman. I don't know.
He is a big hit with our fans, too.
He is. Good job. Welcome, Howard.
Well, thank you. It's glad
So Howard is a television, Hollywood, and now radio producer.
Yeah.
And he produces the Bill Sardi Show over on sister station KLAV.
Yes.
First of all, let's find out how you got into show business, because you're besides being the Cohen name.
Well, thank you.
Which is
that's an automatic.
That's an automatic, right.
Yeah. Well, what happened with me is maybe your listeners are listening also to Howard Stern show as I did as a fan, and they used to have a segment where they would take a woman and they would judge what she looked like on a pedestal, and they would spin her around like she was on a Lazy Susan, and they would point her out with a laser pointer and say she needed to lose this and that and this and that. And I
would love to be on that pedestal.
Oh yeah, and one of the judges was an actor named Chuck Zito. And Chuck was with a motorcycle gang and a motorcycle club rather, and he said to the girl, he said to her, "You look like you're scared up there. How come you're here?" And she says, "I was put here. I came here to make $100." And he says, "You mean you just came here to make some money?" He says, "Who sent you?" She said, "Well, he's in the green room." And Chuck said, "Go get him." And they brought him into the studio at Stern's show, and he says, "Get up on that pedestal." And he says, "Take off your clothes. Let me see what you look like." And this guy was scared to death. And I was looking at this going, "Man, this is a show. Let me see if I can get this guy." And I wrote a show called Street Justice. And I said, I called up Chuck. He didn't know me from Adam. He says, "Who do you know that we would know in common?" And we both knew the guy who is the owner of then the Crazy Horse 2. And I said...
now owner of the Crazy Horse 3, and eventually when somebody gets killed there, the Crazy Horse 4, and then...
well, I wouldn't go that far. But he said, and he said he called him, and he said he knew me, and he said that I was an all right guy, and he came into Las Vegas. We met, and I said, "I'm going to give you a piece of this production company. Let's take this out." And then after that, what happens is the real Hollywood story. I asked somebody what you do. They said you had to get an agent. I said, "Does anybody know an agent?" And this woman said, "Well, I'm in the music business. I know somebody at CAA, which Creative Artist Agency, which is like the biggest talent agency on the planet." And she arranged a meeting. And I met with an agent and her assistant in this big-time Hollywood conference room, complete with a porter slicing fruit. And as she's talking about it, I'm talking about this show, and I said to the agent, I said, "What are you people going to do for me?" And under the table, this woman who set up this meeting, who I hardly knew, she kicked me under the table, and she gave me a dirty look. And I said to the agent, I said, "Would you excuse us?" And she says, "Why, certainly." And they left the conference room. And this woman says, "Do you know who you're talking to? These people, you can't get in to see these people." And I said, "I just want to know what they do." I had no idea what an agent would even do. And I said, "I understand, but I got to find out." They came back into the room, and the woman, who's a great gal, and I said, "What are you doing for me?" She says, "Well, that's a good question." She says, and then she turned her attention to the woman that brought me there, and she said, "May I ask you how many television shows you produced?" And this woman said, "I'm in the music business." And she looked at me and she says, "Howard, do you mind if we excuse her from this meeting?" And she threw her ass right out of there.
Nice.
She threw her ass right out of there. She says, and she told me what they do and how if you go to a picture show with a network, with CBS or NBC or Fox or any of the big players, when they go with an agent from CAA, they actually go with somebody that can make a decision if they can buy or sell the show. I mean, that's all there is to it. Otherwise, you have to go up 12 rungs of people, and that's how it came into.
So you just went right there where you needed to go.
Yeah, I was so naive about show business then. I come from a casino background. That's what I was doing in Las Vegas, and I moved to California. We did the show, and from there, we did a couple other television shows, and one day I'm sitting on the set with a young guy who was at USA Network, and he says to me, "What are you going to do after this one?" And he was sort of my boss on the show. They were paying the bills at USA Network, and I said, "I don't know." He says, "I have an idea for the movie business. Do you think you want to get involved?" And I said, "Well, tell me about it, and I'll let you know in a couple of weeks." He says, "Well, you know." So I looked at his business plan, and I said, "Well, let's do it." And I said, "But I'll tell you what, I'll put up the money." I said, "But you have to quit USA Network." And this kid was a young lion going straight up. And he did. He quit USA, and we opened up a company called IO Film, and in North Hollywood. And this place was less than 3,000 square feet, until we did a bunch of little movies and little movies and little movies, and then we wound up meeting a great guy named Bobby Moresco. And Bobby Moresco was a partner with a director named Paul Haggis. And Paul wrote a ton of stuff, you know, and he said, "We have this movie, we'd like to bring it into you guys, and we need a grainy look and stuff." And the movie was called Crash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Sandra Bullock and Don Cheadle and Matt Dillon and Terrence Howard and Thandie Newton and Ludacris,
Keanu
you know,
Reeves.
and we won. You know, the movie was just up against Brokeback Mountain for the best movie of the year, and wound up we won the Academy Award for the best picture.
Wow.
So right after that, we were a hot property.
Right.
And then one day I get a call, and they said, "There's somebody downstairs here that wants to talk to you about doing a movie." And this girl was just tattooed written to the max. I mean, she was just a punked out chick, man, you know. And we came in, and I just hit it off with her like right off the bat. And she says, "I want you to do this movie." And her name was Diablo Cody. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she's written a bunch of stuff. And I went to my partner, who's now at a major network, and I said, "Can we bring this movie in?" And he says, "Let's bring it in, but man, we need a move. I mean, this is a big deal." And the movie was with a new actor. Her name is Ellen Page, and the movie was called Juno. So what turned out, we had to scramble around to see about getting some money, and I'm talking about money like little less than $1 million for our end of it. And I wound up having to take a partner in, which we did, and we moved from this 3,000 square foot facility in North Hollywood to a 27,000 square foot facility in Hollywood. But we couldn't get the thing built fast enough at Diablo's to get her movie in with us, which was a shame because they won an Academy Award, and we were right there for that, you know, and we just missed it. So all of this stuff went by, and then finally I said to my partner, I said, "Dude, man, I'm into the creative side of it. This business side of it is just not me. I don't know about you." He says, "I'm with you, whatever you want to do." I said, "Let's just write some TV. Let's just do something like that." And that's what happened. We left him. We asked for a buyout, and that's what happened. And that was the end. That's the end of the story. Went from production to post-production to back to production again, and now I'm doing I saw this gentleman, and I thought he showed a lot of talent, and I thought he would be big on cable television and radio. And my wife runs his company as a director of operations in Las Vegas, and I said, "Let me help. Let me see if I can produce a show and then we could take it in and possibly go syndicated nationwide." And hence, I got him on the George Knapp show on your CBS Channel 8, and then he had tremendous response there. And then George invited him on Coast to Coast Radio nationwide, and it blew up over there. I had George come on his show here at KLAV, and he did great. And so I just like the idea of taking somebody who I think is talented in the same way Jim Cramer is for Mad Money. This guy is for health. I mean, he is as you know, he is really dedicated to helping people and saving their money from the big pharma bills and stuff
Right.
like that people are now having to entertain.
Bill Sardi is a very popular personality over on the KLAV station.
Good.
We get
Very.
calls all the time
Good.
about his show.
Good. And by the way, to your audience, and thank you very much for your compliments. It's really nice to see. And back to tell you about the casting couch, because that was asked of me off the air, and not to just show you how easy it is that I'm a person that's like in May I'll be 70. So I'm talking from an old codger's point of view that I would be at the Mondrian, the Sky Bar or something in LA, and there would be people coming over and passing phone numbers and stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, the thing is you have to have integrity, and if you can't have integrity, whether you're in film or movies, you're driving a bus or a taxi cab or whatever, I had the same chances with girls when I was a boss in a casino. I mean, it was casino cocktail waitresses wanted to get a better job in the pit. They wanted to get better stations. They wanted to do this. It's always that barter system that goes on, and maybe it'll explain a little to your audience about how I feel about women in general. So
Because if she's willing to
They're
flop
so
it out
easy
for
to come
anything.
by.
yeah, so I just wanted to tie this up in a little package, and that's pretty much where we are.
So we've got a bunch of people in chat who are very impressed by your credentials.
Thank you.
One of our favorite
Chatters.
chatters is Vendetta, and he says he wants your information to contact you because he's got
A
all
scrap.
kinds of ideas.
That's thank you for responding to me. I have a website. It's www.outsidetheboxent.com. That's short for entertainment.
Yeah,
And-
don't forget the ENT, because I did that last night, and you go to a real estate if you don't.
Yeah, so it's
ENT.
outsidetheboxent.com, and we say very clearly, everybody's got a story in them, and we're more than happy to look at it. And my company is very fair. All we can say to you is that we promise we won't take it out without you being a part of it, and just understand that there's a lot of ideas out there, and somebody might have your idea, but we won't undercut you.
So
Now-
here's where my dirty mind went to. He said, "We promise we won't take it out unless you're a part of it." And I'm like, "If you're taking it out, I better be a part of it."
So a lot of what you do scripted stuff as well, but mostly you concentrate on reality stuff, reality television
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
We're just getting into scripted right now, and again, but reality is where we've been dabbling in, because reality is where, as you all know, when you put your television sets on, reality is where it thrives in the land of cable. And now that they have more cable stations out there than you could even count, you don't need a huge audience to be successful on cable, because it's so diluted. So shares of if you get a couple million people to watch your show, you're a success on TV.
why do you think, because reality TV has like blown up in the last 10, 20 years, shows like Catfish or the Ice Truckers, I couldn't believe how many people love that Ice Truckers.
I love Sister
Or
Wives.
the crab,
Awesome.
or the Go Crabber guys.
Yeah.
Sister
well,
Wives.
Well, Tom Beers does those shows. He has a company called Original Productions, and he has Ice Truckers and World the Deadliest Catch. That's what
Right.
he's
Right,
talking
That's
about.
a
that's
wild
right.
show to watch.
So all those kind of shows, you have to understand, it's show business. So the show part is there, but the business part is overwhelmingly there. So when we did a show I can only talk about personal experiences, but when I wrote a show called Las Vegas Law, about a defense attorney here in Las Vegas, and how he was a flamboyant defense attorney, and this guy handled all the cases you would see on Cops. I mean, all the low-level drug dealers and burglars.
The people they were chasing chasing through other people's yards and crawling under fences. Yeah.
So I took a meeting with Court TV, and we at the Peninsula Hotel in Los Angeles, and I'm explaining the show. And this guy had a great personality. I say had because he passed away, but he had a great personality. He died in a Ferrari here in Las Vegas, and he was so wild, so berserk, and he would get all of these people out. And I received a memo from Court TV to come to New York. True TV rather, and come to New York. They turned into they worked Court TV, and I flew to New York and I met with them, and I was sitting in their boardroom, and they said, we're getting a 2.3 share on Bucky's show. We love Bucky. He's great. He's the greatest. What a great show. It's great, great, great. We're canceling the show. So I said, Jesus. I said, you could have probably told me that on the telephone. I had to fly to New York to hear this. And I said, what's wrong with the show? He said, our whole network is based on people going to jail. I mean, cops, we throw them to jail. Forensic files,
TV,
they go to jail.
TV.
Every show, and your guy gets every one of them out of the jail. He says, now, what happens is that a guy like Bucky, who had a staff of his regular staff of receptionists and assistants and things like that, we get a budget to do a show. We say it's a half-hour show. We need $500,000 for one episode. The network comes back and say, do it for $380,000. And it goes back and forth. Now, as an executive producer, which you probably, if you go to a movie, you'll see executive producer, you might see 10 of them. An executive producer's fee is 10%. So you might have 3 or 4 executive producers, and you might do 12 shows, 13 shows a season. It's really, if you cut it up like that, it's really not much if that's all you do for the whole year. Yeah, right. But a guy like Tom Beers that has so many hours of different television shows on the air, that's all adds up.
Right.
But on Bucky's case, he's not here any longer, so I could certainly tell you his end of it was $10,000 an episode. Now, with that 10, it's like I told Bucky, I said, look, you have to take care of when we pan into your law office,
right,
and we show your secretary or your runners or your whatever, you take care of them, And he said, I don't, I'll give them all the money. I just want to be on television, and that's how he felt, So there really isn't a lot of money, but it's so cheap to make that kind of a show.
Yeah, me and you were talking about this earlier in the week, the difference between reality TV and regular scripted shows.
Well, the difference is, for example, a show like I was just got a before coming in here, I received an email from your last sheriff, 2 sheriffs ago, a great guy by the name of Ralph Lamb. He was the sheriff of Las Vegas, like during the heyday. Right. And he a great guy, and they decided they wrote a television show called Vegas with Dennis Quaid and Mike Chiklis.
Great show that got canceled.
Yeah, and that show there, they had I heard, don't hold me to this, but I heard it was $2 million an episode. Now that's a television show for an hour. Now when you have a scripted show, you're dealing with every union you could possibly imagine. Actors unions, screen, every union you can imagine, but a reality show, there are no, they don't have writers, so they can get away with all of that stuff. It's real cheap to put on, so that's why you see reality shows like Honey Boo Boo and these jail shows and all of these other shows that people die to watch. And if you say to them, this thing is all produced, don't you? That Honey Boo Boo really doesn't live in that shack. She's making $20,000 an episode from day one. They're not living in that shack. And the truth is, they're not. They're living in a house, and they go to that shack is a set. There's grids in it and everything. I mean, what do you think?
Wow.
And then you go and then you look at the Amish mafia.
That's so fake. It's not even.
We
don't even explanation.
You don't have cameramen watching people break the law and actually seeing them break the law, and it's okay. They just close in their eyes to it. I mean, it's people. They know it's phony, but they know the WWE is phony, but yet people watch.
People pay to watch the freaking WWE. There was a $60 show on last week.
Yeah, so that's what it's about.
So I have a question then. So we know that they're not actually recording. Yes, I heard that. they're not actually recording people breaking the law. It's all scripted. But what about things like ice road truckers? I mean, these guys are actually hauling shit across.
Well,
what happens when the road falls and the trucker...
They fall in the water.
What? Thank you, Howard. Are the cameramen? I've seen situations where I'm like, shouldn't the cameraman set the fucking camera down and help these people out?
I was a huge fan of Survivor, and when people get hurt there, the cameraman did. They put down the camera, they went and helped the people.
Well, there's a show out now, Siberia, which is a reality show about a survivor-like reality show. And in the part of the show where, everything went wrong, but the cameraman, you see the guy go, oh, don't stop filming. But in reality, the camera guys
that was like
in it now.
the River, the show The River, which was about a camera crew following somebody. But do they have something in their contract that says cameraman won't help your ass out?
Let me just say this.
Sorry if your life's in danger, the cameraman's running.
The great Andrew Dice Clay, as part of his bit, used to talk about, he said, we would watch these people standing in Africa begging for money, and you see the flies around these little children's head and stuff. Why doesn't one of the cameramen give them a fucking sandwich?
Exactly.
So the answer is the camera crew's there. The camera crew has all the stuff. No one's going to fall in the water. If they do, they're prepared for it. There's medical crews. There's everything. The Deadliest Catch, they lost a couple of people on that show.
They lost a whole crew in a boat one time.
Yeah. But that's what they sign up for.
Now, do reality shows in general, I know some of it has to be scripted, like this is gonna be the scene.
Well, know this for a fact.
Well, yeah, but it seems to me like the reality shows that I've been called to do extras on, like they call that day and they go, okay, they need you on the set tonight at 5 at Mandalay Bay. That's 2 hours from now. Can you go? Here's the gist of the show. Now, if it was scripted at all, they would have known 3 days ahead of time or whatever that's their plan. Well, so that stuff has to change like the weather.
It's a storyline. I mean, it's just written up like that. It's not scripted per se, where they give you a script and you just read your lines. It's just like, we're going here. This is what we want you to do today. We want you to go. We're going to go bowling. I mean,
Yeah, the reality shows that I've done, they're like, okay, we want you to go in there. Like the time I was supposed to, this guy thought he had to marry me to win a reality show, and they said in Vegas you just have to show up at the chapel and blah 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 blah. But there was no prior, like he said, there's no script. They showed, this is the part you play. Make sure you act upset and just go do it. That's pretty
I'll tell you a quick story if you have a minute. When we were shooting Las Vegas Law, this lawyer had this very outspoken wife who was like 25 years younger than he, and we brought in this guy. I think his name was Mr. Bobby or something. He used to work for Anna Nicole Smith on her show.
Oh,
Bobby something. I can't remember his name.
Bobby Flay.
No, not the. No, he's a
no, it's the gay guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Bobby.
So we had Bobby come in, and he was going to go and redecorate Bucky's house, and this guy comes in and he's got the little lipstick on and stuff, and Bucky's wife comes to the door. She goes, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you," and this. And he goes, and Bobby looks at this house. It looked like it should be torn down. And he goes, this place should be torn down and start anew. This place is just awful. So Bucky looks at him and he says, "How much is this going to cost me to do that?" And Bobby goes, $400,000 to do it. And Bucky goes, "Do you know how many whores that is?" I mean, this guy's a defense attorney. So in his mind, he was counting like at $500 a whore. If I have to defend them, I mean, it was so riveting. So it wasn't like it was scripted, and it just came right off his head.
Right.
So when we wrote that, and then we brought it to editing, and then we sent it to New York, they said, "Oh no, you got to cut that out." That's how it works in television.
Too much
but that's
fun.
a great scene. You know how many whores that is.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what channel it's on.
Well, it depends.
FXX
he like Howard said, he's thinking about I have to defend this many whores to pay for that. I'm thinking like, oh, that's his whore money to use. I'm thinking totally opposite.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So our chat has been going wonky. It's very wonky tonight, and our next guest is Roddy LaCroix. He writes books. He's very funny. He would like to, I don't know, maybe have you produce him in a show. That'd be great.
Go to the website, Outside the Box.
Yeah, but he wants his show to be Angry Ass Chat Anal.
Yeah, so he's angry at the chat right now because it's like weirded out on all of us, and so he called it Angry Ass Chat Channel. Pitch that as a show title.
Angry Ass Chat.
That's Taco Ass Chat.
Well, I love your listeners.
I know you're very busy. Thank you. You just got off the plane to come here from the airport to here. Thank you so much.
It was great. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
We'd like for you to stick around, but we know that you've been flying.
Have me back next time.
Yeah, we will.
We will.
Let's give your website again, and if people want to contact you.
It's www.outsidetheboxent.com, short for entertainment. Outside the Box Entertainment is the name of the company.
And now all of you guys who watch the show can drop Howard Cohen's name when you're dealing with
and I'll
people,
send Howard Cohen an email of how you would love to see the Curvaceous Bounty of Sin City in their own reality show.
Oh my God.
But I want it to be real reality.
Shameless plug.
But I want it to be real
Our show is a reality radio show. And we make sure that they're true stories. We want to make sure that all the stories are true. We've got some crazy ass stories from people.
Well, I have to tell you one thing. I came in to do a show with Larry Flynn called Hustler on Sunset.
Right.
And we were over there, and Larry wanted to do it about sort of like where Cheers meets the Girls Next Door. And it's funny that the people that work at Hustler, I don't know if you've ever been to on Sunset Boulevard. They have a big Hustler store with a cafe and everything like that. So it's really a fancy place. But here's the interesting part about that. The people that work in that store must abide by the same rules that they do for the people that sell at Neiman Marcus or Saks Fifth Avenue.
Wow.
So when somebody comes in, and we were only shooting on Friday and Saturday night in the heart of Sunset Boulevard, across the street from the Rainbow. I mean, this is really in Hollywood, So I don't have to tell you the crew that goes there like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's like truly a circus. So people come in like a celebrity type people, and they go, "We want this for this specifically," and the salesperson is not allowed to go into anything adult, even though that's all they sell is adult stuff.
Wow.
So they have to deal with it as if they were selling makeup or they were selling whatever, and they're listening to them talk is absolutely an art. I mean, that was what the show is. There's going to be a 4-way, and we want this, and we're going to stick this, and we're going to do that, and you go, well, if you want to do this, and they take them on a whole vanilla kind of a way. So I wrote a show about that, called Sunset Hollywood Sunset. What did I say? Hollywood on Sunset. Whatever. Hustler on Sunset.
Hustler on
Yeah.
One of those fucking things.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Howard. It was a blast, and we will have you back again.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. You're listening to the Curvaceous Bounty of Sin City on VegasAllNetRadio.com. We will be back with Rodney.
Well, first the club calendar.
Oh, club calendar.
Then Rod.